My eyes hurriedly read across the list, hoping that this would be the year all my hard work pays off. As I kept reading, my hope kept shrinking. Right as I was about to accept my fate, I saw it. Right at the end of the list, my name appeared. I shot up with glee and ran over with the rest of the team to celebrate doing the usual shenanigans. Next thing I knew, we were on the bus headed towards Texarkana for the biggest swim team event of the year, Travel Trip. Travel Trip is a huge swim meet where schools from all across Texas compete for clout and bragging rights. This is the event I worked hard for 3 consecutive years to make it to. Our coach began announcing who would swim what once we were finally out of Houston. I was assigned to my best stroke, the 50 freestyle. From that moment on, I knew the pressure was on. After a long, dull ride through several towns you'd miss if you blinked, we finally arrived in Texarkana. The first day of the meet was just dive competitions and just a handful of the first couple relays to get things started. After that all finished, we just went around messing with anyone who had the misfortune of working that day. The next day, however, the meet really began, and the intensity was incredible. Screams drowned out almost everything else. However, our school's women's team was actually doing fairly well. My closest friend Kate actually managed to pull a first place in a final heat of her event. Followed by that were more relays and events. Later that day, we all gathered for a prep rally before the final day of the meet, our ritual of straight thug. The next day was the final day of the meet and the pressure was on. We began our warm-ups and could physically feel the intensity. We went to check up on the event postings for our school and there it was, my name at the very last heat of 50 freestyle. Not only was I swimming my best stroke in the fastest heat, I was swimming against several other people who were among the best of what they do in their district. After finding my name on the event sheet, I went over to look at all the events and felt my heart drop and excitement soar at the same time. There was only limited space at finals, so I knew I'd have to plow my way through a wall of literal people to make it. I didn't know if my years of practice were enough, but deep down I knew that I would throw everything I have at this and show them exactly what I'm made of. I went to line up once the time for my event drew near and watched the swimmers in the heat below mine give their best. Just watching, I remembered there is no mercy here. The difference between some swimmers was insane. I heard them call for us to step up and got to my lane. Once I was onto the board, I started running through my mental pre-race checklist. My anxiety turned to excitement, shoulders loose but firm, legs properly spaced apart, core solid, head down, and confident in my ability. The seconds between step up and on your mark almost felt unbearable. But then I heard it, on your mark, and got ready to launch. The alarm went off and as fast as I could, I dove into the water, landing every entry process. I began kicking my way through as I made my way back to the surface in the seeming blink of an eye. I had already made it across the pool. The next thing I knew, I was on the final stretch. The time elapsed was less than 20 seconds, but it felt like forever. I could feel my arms telling me to quit, my core telling me I pushed too far, my legs telling me they're exhausted, but I knew better than to give up. I kept pushing just that little 10 meters left, fighting as hard as I could. Next thing I knew, I could see the lane line finish, and I knew it was right in front of me, 5 more meters. I gave everything and put in the final push and dove for the wall. Just like that, it was over. I got out the water still too tired to even comprehend how to listen and looked at the scoreboards. My dream sagged. Despite throwing my all, I didn't even manage to rank, not even close. Considering third place was a full second faster than me and the top 2 were just ridiculously quick and couldn't be competed with, I was defeated. While I was busy feeling down, I didn't even realize the meet had come to a close. The rankings were announced once we were on the bus back home and the boys' team placed 23rd out of 42 teams that scored, so we hyped ourselves up with the usual, at least it's not last, jokes and chants while the girls' team placed 4th out of 42 teams and were upset it wasn't top 3. This result was expected since the girls' team is the only reason our school has any clout at all. The results weren't all bad, however. We had beaten the only other school from our district, which was still bragging rights. Before I knew it, we were back home, and all was said and done. I took a moment to reflect. Real life isn't like the movies. Even if you give your best, it doesn't always mean you'll win. No matter how much you want it, you can't always have the happy ending.